Here, make
Gimmighoul, give me status, let me feel alive. New Contramerc City's humming, pulling on the vibe. Dope vibes floating in the air tonight. Podcast running till the morning light. Memories on loop, they replay and bend.
99.9 Gimmighoul Radio, hottest FM radio in New Contramerc City.
Everyone, welcome to 99.9 Gimmighoul Radio. Hey, thank y'all for showing up tonight and listening to us out in the airwave here in New Contramerc City. Listen, we have a very fun show for y'all tonight. We actually brought in a special guest for y'all, and we're gonna have a great time. Let's get into it. As you can tell by the title, let's talk about Pokemon Legends ZA for a second and what's to come after this game is released. We know that when Pokemon Legends ZA comes out, it's going to be the main focus on Game Freak currently, and then we're going to switch gears directly into Gen 10. But what we don't know is the games maybe in between those two generations, or maybe a game after Gen 10. We want to know, and we want to talk about tonight about the likelihood of a brand new Pokemon spin-off game maybe, possibly coming out in the near future, and what we'd like to see from a spin-off game, especially with all the recent news coming out in the past years about different things Game Freak has been working on behind the scenes. We really want to know y'all's thoughts as well, so make sure you guys comment below on a spin-off game you would like to see. And come check us out on our Discord channel as well, where we'll go into this a little bit further and we'll dive into it. I'll leave a link in the description below. Also, real quick, our special guest tonight. Listen, if you guys have been here for the last few shows, every soundtrack we cover, every music video we do is all created by our very own music producer and manager, Turn to Ash. He is with us tonight. He's going to be helping us discuss a lot of these games coming up that we're going to be going over as well. Very knowledgeable in the gaming community and, of course, the music community. But as far as my long-winded intro, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Unseelie. Unseelie, how are you tonight?
I've been better. I was a little under the weather. I was a little under the weather today. So that was.
Oh man, I'm sorry to hear it. It has been raining a lot, so I completely understand.
But yeah, no, we got Ash. We got a good show. We're going to be talking about spin-offs. We're going to be talking about non-Pokemon games, which I'm looking forward to because we have a lot coming down the pipeline in regards to just gaming in general. So I really can't wait to hear your guys' thoughts. I can't wait to hear, or see the comments that we get, while we're talking live with everybody when the show goes live. So let's go.
All right, let's hit it. First up on the menu, let's talk about spin-off games and the Pokemon community and what can we expect after Legends ZA. I'm going to ask you both, Ash and Unseelie, this. Do you think we will have a new Pokemon spin-off game right after Legends ZA before we get to Gen 10? Or do you think it's going to be a later on kind of deal? What's Game Freak's focus, you think? Would you like a new spin-off game? Let's talk about it. What do you guys think?
I don't think it's going to be a Game Freak focused project. I don't know if Ash agrees with me on that, but it's definitely any spin-off game we get at this point will not be a Game Freak focused spin-off.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, you had Diamond and Pearl, but wasn't actually really made by Game Freak directly. I mean, they have a little bit of a hand in it, but they've been really big on remakes, a main series game, then a remake, and then maybe something new. So I would say we'd probably get a remake before we get full spin-off, but the remake might be something like Let's Go.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I mean, looking at the history so far, we actually know of a new company formed for the Pokemon world called Pokemon Works. We actually don't know exactly what Pokemon Works is or what they're doing. That could be a good, I guess, bridge for some spin-off games in the future. Am I correct in saying that, MC Lee? What do you think on that?
I believe they were pretty much fully formed to work on spin-off type titles. And I also think they were formed to work on mobile titles as well.
I mean, you have Ilka, and I think you have some game, I don't know if they're still with Game Freak, but I think they merged with Ilka to create this new Pokemon Works company, right?
I believe Ilka, I don't believe it's a merger. I believe there are people from Ilka, and then there are people from like the Pokemon Company, Nintendo, and Game Freak that are part of Pokemon Works. I do think that, I mean, we might even find out that Bandai Namco has something to do with it because they did make Pokemon Snap.
Yeah, I think Ilka and the Pokemon Works, they just share the same building, if I'm not mistaken. They're headquartered in the same building now.
Yes.
So they probably work a little bit more hand in hand, probably helping them to guide for maybe a more polished game. But I'm gonna be honest, I quite like BDSP, the newer release that happened. I know it was a quote unquote faithful remake, but it was a pretty enough game. I didn't see a problem with it. I know a lot of people were kind of upset that they didn't bring over a lot of the platinum type of activities into the game. I do think that was probably its biggest downfall. But given the chance maybe to work a little bit closer in hand-to-hand stuff, we could see maybe a better version, maybe not so much of a remake per se, although there are rumors of a black and white remake, maybe going to happen. I don't know. Would you guys consider that maybe a quote-unquote spin-off? Or is that, okay, let me ask you this question. Is a spin-off, or let me rephrase this, is a remake of a game a spin-off, or is it just I don't know how to classify that. Is it just a spin-off of a game, or no? Because it's not the original game, right?
So, up until BDSP, I would have said no. After BDSP, I tend to think yes.
Interesting, okay.
Yeah, I mean, like you had Ruby and Sapphire, like Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire that came out, which I would consider that a spinoff, because I mean it introduced a lot more mechanics versus remastering a game.
Okay.
Like BDSP, I would consider that more of a remake than a spinoff. Just like I would say those are two different classifications. Like you have remakes, you have spinoffs.
I agree with that. I mean, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire added a lot to the original Gen 3 games that BDSP didn't do for Gen 4, which was kind of, I don't know if it was rushed or maybe they truly wanted to be a faithful remake and just set it out. So, well, let's just take, for example, we won't go into black and white because we don't know a ton about that rumor per se, if that's even going to happen. But let's just go ahead and say a new spin-off game is coming out right after Legends EA. Hypothetically, what kind of spin-off game would we want, or could we possibly see? There's a lot of good options out there. Well, I don't know. Hit me with some thoughts.
So I mean, the two that come off at least top of my brain are a Colosseum remake.
Oh, okay.
Or
I like it.
A Pokemon Ranger remake. I think those games offer a very diverse gameplay that could be utilized for a newer generation, but at the same time, I would like to see how they are adapted to a console like the Switch versus, the DS or the N64.
Yeah, I mean, listen, bro, we're way overdue for a good Coliseum or a Ranger game. Those games were so fun to play. Even like a Mystery Dungeon. Ash, did you have any favorite Pokemon spin-offs that you liked growing up to play?
People forget about it a lot, but Poke Park.
Oh my God.
With the minigames.
Oh, yeah. It's funny. I didn't know Pokemon Park was a thing, and so we just recorded our Pokeball tier list episode, and we went over the Poke Park Ball. I had no idea that was a real thing. So that's a spinoff I didn't know existed.
Yeah, I have it sitting on the shelf right next to it.
It was a cool little like action adventure, different way to kind of play Pokemon. Like I loved it. Like the new Pokemon Tournament, which
Yes.
is alright, but it's not Stadium.
No.
I do tend to get like Pokemon Stadium and Pokemon Coliseum, and I'm probably going to get like just riddled with this, but I really don't know the difference. Like if you told me those two titles as of right now, I couldn't tell you which one does what. And I know that sounds terrible. Coliseum was located in the Western United States though, right? And that had to do with Shadow Pokemon?
Yes.
Okay, and Pokemon Stadium was what, Ash?
I mean, like, really the key difference is that one was an RPG, had an RPG storyline, and the other one was just battling.
Okay.
So Coliseum has a full RPG story mode where you can train and catch, and like battle focused. Stadium's just battle focused.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for Stadium, yeah, I don't know if you've tried to play it on the N64 emulator on the Switch, but I hate to say it this way, it's almost unplayable because you can only use the rental teams. You obviously can't bring in Pokemon. So like, it's just, I mean, it's there. It's a game. Coliseum, on the other hand, is a legitimate Pokemon game, just done in a different style.
Yeah, and a lot of people leave out, and this is a game that I honestly loved playing, but Gale of Darkness.
Oh, so good.
But it's such a good game.
One of our TCG GGR reporters is actually replaying. He's playing through. His name is at Lewis. He's playing through Gale of Darkness right now. I think he's playing it on the GameCube, and he's having a ton of fun doing that. So that's actually really cool to see. You know, thinking about it, we have these spin-off games, but they're all quite different from each other. So maybe if we were looking at a brand new spin-off game to come out, either after Legends ZA, maybe after Gen 10, if they're, I don't know though. I feel like we could get a spin-off game after ZA if it's not Game Freak, focused, since they're focused on Gen 10. I feel like with spin-off games, they do try to push the envelope and kind of reach outside the box. I think we're going to get something brand new that we haven't had before in a Pokemon spin-off world. I'm not sure what that would be. I mean, we're going to get like a Pokemon Battle Royale, even though I don't know if those are still popular. Like, what are we going to get? I mean, what do you guys think?
I mean, new and innovative, right? So the issue becomes, which audience are they going to cater to? So are they going to cater towards the older audience, or are they going to cater towards the younger audience? So like if you're catering towards the younger audience, you're going to end up with something like Magikarp Jump.
Yeah. I would honestly, what I'd like to see with the popular rise in arena battlers, I think an arena type battler, kind of like Warzone or Fortnite, could have a lot of, I guess, merit for a Pokemon game. Something that's more multiplayer versus, you're going through a single story.
Isn't that what Unite is? Kind of?
No,
Unite's a MOBA.
Yeah. Okay.
Unite's more like League of Legends.
Yeah.
Yeah, very true. I agree with that, actually. It's a good point. What are we going to do? Drop out of Garchomp, wings and drop into a city with our 6 team and try to survive? I don't know. I'm just wondering, like, how would they even pull that off?
They would do it in a way that makes sense for Pokemon. I mean,
yeah, they would. And they've always done that. They've always done a good job of it. And I will say this about even when it's a spin-off game, they do do a really good job of integrating it into the Pokemon, I'm going to say universe and universes, not so much the world, because, sometimes the spin-offs don't exactly tie into the main series game, like Masters EX, right? There's so many cool storylines and characters, but they don't quite tie into the real mainline canon games.
But they also do. That's the thing. I don't know if you played EX at all. It is a different timeline from what I'm gathering from the storyline there. I haven't played in a while either, but they do this. The storylines tie into like the main series games.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the Fortnite style Pokemon game, I think that's what the Synchro machine was there in testing.
Interesting. Well, I mean, you could make that argument. I mean, okay, so is the Synchro machine, is that going to be a staple, and is that going to be relevant in ZA, or do you think that is being developed for maybe a different kind of spin-off?
So if they want to use that data for, I guess, another game, I could see them putting it in ZA in some fashion. Because you're not telling, whenever you connect your game to the internet, there is no way they're not getting data on how many times people are using the synchro function.
Possibly.
So, I mean, they can tell you, they can look and be like, there's been over 70 million Pokemon caught. It's a code of data. There's no way they can't say, oh, this person, or, this number of people are using the synchro machine. That's giving them knowledge on whether or not we like a feature, and if we're using it often enough, they might be like, okay, well, let's test it in this environment. Cool, keep developing this game.
Okay. I'm trying to think if there's maybe a parallel asset game, Game Freak has used like the Synchro machine before that's done testing and been brought into. I'm sure there have. I'm sure there's something that we've seen in an older game, and then it was fully
Pokemon Go.
Yeah. Okay. That is kind of true, because it became a brand new game. It became its own game, I guess. Right. So, okay. Let me ask you this, Ash, real fast. And I'm, as somebody who's knowledgeable, especially in the Call of Duty circuits and the FPS Battle Royale circuit, you're probably the most knowledgeable one here in the room in our studio tonight. Let me ask you, would a Pokemon Battle Royale even be, popular? Or would it even be something Game Freak would want to do as a spinoff if they decide to do so?
So, a fun fact about this is I've actually thought about this before. And so my concept of this game would be, you don't start as a trainer. You start as a Ditto.
Okay.
Right? So the Ditto, you're the Ditto that drops into whatever area or region they want to call it at that time. You encounter Pokemon that you turn into, and then you can play against other players based on what you've transformed into.
Oh, okay. So kind of think. So if you take, this is probably a terrible comparison. Take, for example, Pokemon Snap, but instead, you drop in and you're a Ditto. Obviously, instead of snapping a picture, maybe you find that Pokemon in the wilderness that you drop into. Let's say you're in the woods and you see a Beedrill. So that Ditto can transform into a Beedrill, and now you're that Pokemon for that.
Yeah, and then so Ditto already gets that limited moveset when it transforms anyway. I think they get 5 of each move. Somebody can correct me if that's right. I haven't used the Ditto since Gen 1. But that Ditto only gets that many moves. After that many moves, it untransforms, has to transform into something else to continue, basically.
Gotcha. Interesting. That's actually a very interesting concept. It's one I've never heard of.
Your zone closing in would be like Giratina, and like everything's enclosing into the shadow dimension.
Okay.
But you could definitely do something with it, whether or not you do it as a trainer. But your question becomes is like, if you're a trainer, do you drop in with a team that you choose? Or do you drop in solo with nothing? And then you catch them and then like battle, and say you get like a 2-minute infill instead of an exfil, a 2-minute infill to catch your team after the 2 minutes. You know, do you then go into the main battle royale portion of the thing? I mean, obviously Pokemon, Game Freak, and Nintendo aren't going to give these guys guns. This isn't Power World.
No, God no. But I think
But they're going to have them use their abilities to battle with. So you've got to figure out how to balance that.
I think it's going to be very similar. If they do this, I would see it being very similar to Unite, where instead of like, yes, you're technically playing as the trainer, but you have one Pokemon that you choose from the roster, and you go in like that. So it would be, I don't want to say they'd have to do it like Marvel Rivals or Overwatch, because it is a roster, but I mean, there's no way you're going to have 100 people dropping. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that just doesn't seem logical.
Actually, and that's actually a good point. Speaking of Marvel Rivals and its rise in popularity, this could be an opportunity for Game Freak to maybe, if they had something in the back burner, let's say, if it was a battle royale, I think as popular as Marvel Rivals has actually been, maybe they're starting to think, actually, you know what? A BR may not be such a bad idea if they were to go that route. It could add some fuel to the flames for that one if they do. I'm not sure, but it would be really. Would I play it? Probably. It sounds really fun. I'm not a big spin-off game player, except for I was a sucker for all the mystery dungeon games. I thought they were super fun. I guess because they were so challenging, I found them fun. There was one I didn't like, and that was when it first came on the was it the 3DS or the OG Switch when it first came? I think it was the 3DS version. Ash or Unseelie, you can correct me. Do you guys remember what the mystery dungeon game? It wasn't like a normal rescue team though. It was like you woke up as a Pokemon. You went to school?
Explorers of Darkness?
No, I don't think so. I think it was just like...
I'm holding that one in my hand. That's the only reason
I don't think it was. I'll put like a graphic up on our studio billboard here if I think about it. But like the Rescue Team Mystery Dungeon spinoffs were my favorite spinoff games, and then my second favorite was the Pokemon Ranger, bro. Oh my, however, I will say I probably needed to buy like 2 more 3DSs or just a Nintendo DS because of all the scratch marks. I'm trying to circle with my stylus. What do you want of those? Bring it back, Game Freak or Pokemon Works, please. The world needs another Pokemon Ranger. And
they'd have to retool that though, so bad, because you wouldn't be able to like.
But would they? And think about it like this: we may not have styluses anymore, but you know what the Switch 2 is gonna have? A mouse. So they not just that's a perfect opportunity to bring back Pokemon Ranger, bro. You get you a mouse with the Switch, and instead of scratching up your screen with the stylus, like we did back in the day, you would be able to use your mouse and the control. Well, hell, they could have done that with the controller, to be fair, just like in Pokemon Go. Instead of using it to throw Pokeball, you would use it to do the Ranger thing. Why haven't they done that? Am I crazy? I guess I am. No one said anything, so.
I mean, you're kind of going about it in like the long way. The Switch is touchscreen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could just do it with a touchscreen.
The only reason I say that we probably wouldn't get that feature specifically for a Pokemon Ranger game is because they're going to want you to be able to play it on your TV as well.
Oh yeah, don't want to scratch your TV up. Could you imagine could they come out with a new Pokemon Ranger and they were like, it's touchscreen, but if you play on the TV, you too can scratch your TV up with a giant.
Oh my lord.
Oh yeah, that'll go well.
I mean, as far as, like I said, as far as spin-offs, I think what's probably the most likely candidate, fortunately or unfortunately, will be another mobile.
Another mobile game, but they just can't. And that's another. I'm glad you said that, Unseelie, because I was gonna bring this to the table. Is Pokemon Pocket a spin-off game, or is it like a main game? We don't know, do we? We have no idea.
Okay, so
it's a spin-off of a TCG, though. I mean, realistically.
So here's how that breaks down. Pokemon has always delineated itself to the VGC and the TCG. And then it got weird because they added Go over here and Unite over here. So now there are 4 pillars for quote-unquote Pokemon. Under the TCG, you have, the original TCG. You have TCG Live, and now you have Pocket. For the VGC, you just have whatever the main series game is at that time. I wouldn't classify the TCG or TCG Pocket as a spin-off game. It is a new game in the subsection of TCG, if that makes sense.
So it's like, yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. And you are right. I mean, Pocket is a subsidiary of TCG as a whole. And maybe, maybe spin-off is kind of such a vague term for us to use anyway, because it kind of does relate to a lot. Like, it kind of does relate to remakes. Pocket, in a way, is a remake of TCG, just like a light version, if you wanted to really get down.
Can I give you a hot take on TCG Pocket? And I feel like one of you is going to disagree with me on this.
I'm going to tell you right now, Dan's going to disagree with you on this one. I just know. I don't know what for, but he will.
Either Pokemon Day or Worlds, they will announce that TCG Pocket will be the 5th competitive entrant for next year.
Oh, I don't even think that's a hot take. I think they've actually mentioned they were looking into that when Pocket was released. I don't know. Ash, do you know anything about that either?
I mean, they'd got to be stupid not to make it.
It's
massive player base right now.
They're flying through sets. They are adding cards. They are adding, as far as I'm aware, we were not supposed to get item cards with this set.
But they added them.
Yes.
Because of the popularity.
I think we are going to get an announcement on Pokemon Day or Worlds saying next year TCG Pocket will be its own competitive bracket.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I don't even think it's a hot take. I think you're right. Well, so I guess that kind of also brings me a little bit full circle around on, Pokemon as a whole has a lot of pans in the iron, a lot of fingers or hands in different pies, so to speak. Al creamy pies, of course. Do you think adding another spinoff is even in the cards, let's say after Legends ZA or maybe in the future? Or are they that's what I assume Pokemon Works was kind of designed to be built for, is to help run that kind of division. It's not like Game Freak or Pokemon has a spin-off division, but you know what I mean. Like, we should definitely see spin-offs though, right? I'm not just going crazy and thinking they're just not going to do it.
So here's my take on that. So as of right now, we're between June and November, and me and Ash were talking about this beforehand. Between June and November is going to be the release date for ZA. If it comes out in June, there's no way Gen 10 is coming out this November. It'll be November 2026. That's a year and a half. A year and a half I hate to say this, you're gonna finish ZA in a month, maybe 2. It'll probably get a free update like Legends Arceus did, and then it'll last another month, and then we're back to Scarlet and Violet. If we do not get a remake or a spin-off game, I think people are going to complain like they have been for the past year.
No, I mean, I don't know. Ash, I'm gonna let you talk on this one as well while I gather my thoughts.
Well, yeah. Well, a lot of things that people don't take into consideration is, ILCA didn't start or stop with BDSP. They developed and managed the mobile version of Pokemon Home. They provided support on Pokemon Sleep and Scarlet and Violet, both the base game and DLC. So it depends on if they make ILCA. If they're gonna make them their spin-off division, with some of Masuda's, genius over there, then Game Freak can fully focus on just mainline Pokemon games. I would say it's more likely that if we get another spin-off, it'll either be Let's Go Gold and Silver, it'll be Let's Go Johto, So, I think that the first ones, Pikachu and Eevee, were pretty successful in the younger demographic, which is kind of what Pokemon's trying to shift to. As hardcore fans that are older now, we're looking for these older games to be remade for the nostalgia purposes. But,
Right.
they're going to continue to make remakes. They're going to continue to make spin-offs because they have to in order to keep the game fresh. Now,
Interesting.
we wouldn't have Arceus if they didn't make spin-offs. And
Exactly.
to me, the catch mechanic, Arceus is innovative. That's a completely different Pokemon game than Scarlet and Violet. So personally, Arceus is one of my favorite games in the last 20 years. It's just fun to play.
The spin-off games allow them to take chances and test things that they can't do in a quote-unquote main series game.
And to your point, Ash, I would even say the Legends, and we only have one to go by off, so we really won't know until the EA comes out. But to your point, Ash, these Legends games are actually geared more towards the mature side of the Pokemon company, and I think maybe that's what they're looking for down the road. And in a way, you are, I guess, kind of right. They are a spin-off of the main series games, which I hate to say it as somebody who's definitely, a shy, almost in their 30s, right? Those games were definitely built for a younger audience. There are some spices. There are a couple of flavors of maturity in those mainline games, but you really don't see it. And they really shine through more in a legend style game like Arceus. But I don't know if that's a theme that's going to continue, but maybe that's what they're looking for. They're mature audiences that are growing with the company, because the company is just as older than we are, but founded in 1995?
Yeah, BGC wise, yeah.
Okay,
Not older than me.
At the same point, I guess what I'm getting at is that Legend games might be gearing towards a mature audience for those types of tastes, whereas this main storyline games will always be geared towards a younger audience as well. So maybe, okay, so I just want to get everybody's quick take on this before we jump to our commercial break. Ash, you said Let's Go was going to be your spinoff game to come next, potentially, hypothetically, if you had to pick.
I'd say Let's Go, because it was successful and it probably didn't take a lot to make.
It's fair. Okay, good deal. Unseelie, what about you? What's your hypothetical spinoff game that they're going to come out with in the near future?
It's either going to be a Pokemon Battle Royale, or I'm going to say it's going to be Black and White 3.
Ooh, okay. I want to say, yeah, if we're adding remakes into this, guys, I'm definitely going to say a Black and White remake of some sort. But if we're not adding remakes, then I would probably say let's be honest, guys. It's gonna be a Pokemon walk or a Pokemon skip. I mean, it's just gonna be something.
That's Pokemon Go.
Yeah, I know, but it's gonna be called walk just because you gotta get your steps in, right? Which I guess
Everybody got
is
sleep
pain.
at home, so I gotta get walk and skip.
That's right. Or, actually, nope. You've heard it here first. I got my spinoff. I got it. You guys ready? You ain't ready for this. And it's perfect because you can have like the fighting type Pokemon be like the sponsor of it, right? It's Pokemon
no.
Workout. Pokemon Workout. Game Freak, call me. I'm here all day. I will buy that in a heartbeat. If you give me a Pokemon Workout to work out with like my dog.
Dojo. Coming soon. Pokemon Dojo.
Pokemon Dojo. There we go. We already solved it. Next spin-off.
Could you imagine a Switch Sports Pokemon workout game?
Well, they did on the 3DS in X and Y, you had the whole soccer mini game for the training. So why not just take that philosophy and make it into like you said, like a sport? But I'm Pokemon Dojo, Pokemon Workout. That's what I want.
We're getting DMCA'd after this. I'm just putting that out there. we discovered it. We're getting copyright striked.
Good thing he handles all the back end stuff for that.
Oh my God. Could you imagine? Pokemon CrossFit coming to you 2026.
Stop throwing names out. You're gonna get in trouble.
I think it's time for a commercial break. I think I gotta get out of here. Alright. Thank y'all. Coming up next, we got video game releases for 2025 and 2026, and maybe all the years after all the delays. So stay tuned. We'll talk about that right after this.
You're listening to 99.9 Gimmighoul Radio, the heart that beats in the center of New Contramerc City. Welcome to the Pokésphere, the ultimate destination for all things Pokemon.
We're thrilled to have you join our Pokemon adventure. Whether you're a seasoned Pokemon master or just starting your journey, this channel is for you.
Here on the Pokésphere, we dive into the latest Pokemon news, explore fascinating theories, share epic battle builds, and feature special guests from the Pokemon community.
Our team of hosts comes from all walks of life and all corners of the globe, bringing you a truly unique and diverse perspective on the world Pokemon.
But it's not just about the games and theories. It's about our amazing community of trainers and Pokemon champions just like you. We're going to connect, share stories, and celebrate our love for the Pokemon franchise together.
So hit that subscribe button and join our Pokemon family. Let's embark on this incredible journey together to catch them all.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more awesome Pokemon content.
We'll see you in the next video.
Welcome back, everybody. That was an awesome commercial break. So now what we're going to talk about, we're actually going to switch gears and go away from Pokemon, and we're going to talk about the upcoming games that we're excited about for, I guess, the next year.
Oh, man. I mean, do I even have to say it? I think 2025 and 2026 are going to be some really huge gaming years for us. And there's a couple of reasons why. After COVID, we really started to see, and this is actually paralleled with like Pokemon, right? We started to see not a downgrade per se, but a definite slowdown in game releases and sometimes even like game quality. Like they just weren't truly polished. A lot of bugs. And I think there were a couple of reasons for that. Of course, this happened during the COVID years. I think it really was the first domino to fall. But I think a second kind of factor into that was the generation of consoles and trying to transition from the older consoles to the newer consoles. And then not to mention, you probably have about, if you're trying to port in, 3, 4, 5 different consoles at that same time, depending on what your brand or company is trying to publish the game on. All of that kind of factors in to a game being polished, timely, having good quality, and just a lot of like fun hours in without overworking, your staff. Those are components that's very hard to balance. I could imagine to build a very good game. I think because of those variables we had and those factors, we had that time period of where the games were just coming out. We're just not, and I'm not saying every game was bad or terrible, because we had some ballers in there. We had some hard hitters. Take, for example, Sony did a really great job with Spider-Man 2 Remastered, Spider-Man Morales. I mean, those games were so solid and very well built. And then a lot of, there were just, I'm not going to name any names on some of these other games. I just have really bad critic reviews that kind of just bombed out, right? Now, some of them, say, for example, Cyberpunk, rose from the ashes and became like a phoenix of like, these games had so much potential. They just didn't get the love and polish they needed, whether due to time constraints, whether due to the resources, they didn't have if they were not in the studio or in the office, probably all compounded on each other. Long story short, we're finally in the age where we can see high quality and high productive video games. And I am here for it. We have obviously the one that everyone is looking forward to is Grand Theft Auto 6. We know that's in the works. Take-Two recently just confirmed that it will be, about 99% confirmed that it will be released this year in 2025, albeit they did quote unquote, unless any slip-ups happen, we should see Grand Theft Auto in our hands by the end of the year. But there are so many other games people are overlooking that are coming out. And, I just want to bring your attention to, obviously, Ash has been with us in the studio tonight. He has some games for y'all to be excited for. I have mine that I'll go over in just a little bit as well. Ash, take the floor. Hit us with your thoughts on the gaming industry today and the games that are going to be coming out, very soon in the next couple of years.
Yeah, man. Overall, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it, the gaming industry sucks right now, or at least for the last few years. You don't have companies like Hello Games anymore that, they released No Man's Sky. We've seen how No Man's Sky was on release, but they've spent, since release, they've spent so much time fixing that game that, I would trust them with another game release, which brings me to their new game release.
Okay.
So, they have a new game coming out called Light No Fire. I don't know if you guys know that or not, but
I've never heard of it, I'll be honest.
It looks really solid. No Man's Sky was a procedurally generated space system, right? So
yes,
Light No Fire is a procedurally generated Earth with a map size that is the approximate size of Earth. An explorable map size the size of Earth is insane. Multiplayer, it's a survival building game. It's an adventure exploration. It's set in a fantasy planet, if I'm not mistaken. Like I said, depth of role-playing game to the freedom of a survival sandbox. So that's something to definitely look out for because, like I said, Hello Games spent a lot of time fixing that mistake with No Man's Sky, and it wasn't their fault that the game released in the state that it was in. It was actually Sony's. So Sony bought the studio and then used it as a PlayStation release. Well, you know how it is when big developers and investors get involved with things. They want to push out a product. Yeah. You can't have a game make a small profit anymore and be considered successful. They all have to be blowouts, and if they're not blowouts, they're not successful anymore.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I mean, investors get so involved with video game production more times than not to the detriment of the game itself. And I understand it's their money. They want to see it perform well, but it's kind of like when you I'm going to parallel it to like YouTube videos. When you put out a video, obviously you want it to do well. So, you're really wanting to get those views and those clicks. But that's a lot of time, YouTubers can get lost in that. And I think investors get lost in the fact that they just see these games as dollar signs for good reason, because it is their money. They just want to make that money back and more some. Whereas when you're in the studio and you're actually building these games, I believe you actually have a background and a good history in coding video games yourself. That takes time and effort and a little bit of love and dedication from a game developer, right? So what you might have planned for a video game may be different than what the investors are wanting you to be pushed out, correct?
Yeah, and I mean, you've got people now that don't play video games making video games. And it should never be like that. It should be gamers making games for gamers. Because you don't want, a narrative pushed that doesn't need to be pushed. Because gaming's supposed to bring everyone together regardless of what any belief is, any system is, right? So, but we've got people that own these companies now that just don't care. Like, their solution to, like, if a number drops is to fire people. And then you let these people go, hoping to make money on your next game, and then now you don't have people to build that next game. Call of Duty, Activision as a whole is a perfect example of that. We get a new COD game every year. We don't need a new COD game every year. We need the current COD games to be fixed. So
yeah,
it's really hard.
I agree with there.
I mean, it's really hard in the developmental standpoint to code games because, Call of Duty's, like I said, we'll use it as another example. I mean, we built off the same COD engine since 19. So every time you add a line of code, it's going to interfere with something. You add this other line of code, it interferes with something. And that's what causes all these bugs, is because you've got all this code overlapping each other constantly. So
it's like a bunch of messy wires, right?
You put a period in the wrong spot in 6 million lines of code. You've got to go through 6 million lines of code to find a period.
No, I mean that's actually a fair assessment. Yeah, and I guess now we're getting to the point where maybe, just maybe, and Unseelie, I'll bring you in on this one. Like we're finally starting to see a light at the end of the tunnel. I think as far as gaming goes, right? Are we starting to see maybe more polished releases on video games starting now, 2020, at the end of 2024, going into 2025 and beyond? What's your thoughts on that?
Yes and no. I mean, we still have games that are coming out and just completely dying.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, it's hard. Like, you're never going to get away from that, because as much as people like to complain about video games and how they're made, and you'll always get it's easy. You're just copying, pasting, or you're just putting this into a game. Making video games is hard. Making video games is a years-long process. There's a reason why The Elder Scrolls 6 hasn't come out yet. So, right. I mean, you can complain, but I mean, if you complain, you're going to rush them. If you rush them, then you're going to complain that the game came out unfinished.
It sounds like certain Pokemon parallels there, but anyway.
But that's not just a Pokemon community issue. That is a gaming issue.
Correct. I 100% agree.
It's either you want them to take the time and make you a game that works and works well, or you want them to hurry up and get the game out because you want it.
And let me ask you both this question, both Ash and Unseelie. The hot keyword here is delay, right? Nobody likes to hear the word delay. But you know what it does do? It does allow proper time for that game, I assume, for that game to be maybe, obviously worked on a little bit more, but also like polished up, ran through, like Ash said, to double check maybe your coding to make sure there's nothing silly going on, or making sure that game works correctly on the intended software it's supposed to be released on. Nobody likes delays, obviously, because we want it here and now and we want to play it. But then if we get it here and now, A prime example is that Ash just said, No Man's Sky, and of course I mentioned Cyberpunk earlier. Like, we got those games here now because A, investors wanted to push them out, and B, the public was outcrying. I mean, look how many times GTA that just absolutely rabid fans have caused like riots. I mean, even during like gaming, events, and they want these games now, but they don't understand if you get it now, it's not going to be the game you're expecting or wanting in that moment. So a prime example of that right now is Assassin's Creed Shadows. How many times has this game been delayed? At least 4 to 5, right? But in my view, I guess in my opinion, and again, I'm going to ask you both this about the delay issue right now. I think we're getting to a time, like I mentioned earlier, I do see a lot of in the tunnel where now these games are coming out more polished, ready to go, and they're absolutely fun game to play. But to get to that point, you have to have it time to be worked on. And unfortunately, I think the I don't know the exact term I want to use for this, but the magnet, the push and pull to getting that game polished is the marketing side and the investment side, right? And so basically the results of that equation of investors pushing and pulling and wanting, and the audience wanting the game out versus the developers building this game, the result of that equation is delays that nobody likes to see. Whoever wants to go first, go ahead, but I just wanted to get that out on the table. What do you guys think about delays and how it's affecting game releases today?
So the biggest thing is that game companies need to stop using the word delay. Delay has a negative connotation to it. When you think of a delay for, traffic reasons, you think you're going to be stuck in traffic for another hour. When you think of a delay in, school, as parents, we look and go, oh crap, they have a 2-hour delay, which means we have to now readjust our schedule by 2 hours. The word, because that word has a negative connotation with it, we need to find something else, or they need to find something else to say that, we're taking a little extra time to work on this. It's not, oh, it got delayed because of this, and this. Because 9 times out of 10, the original release date ends up getting pushed up because, the company or the, producer or whatever want to move it forward because they want to get it out. They want that paycheck.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. The biggest issue is saying delay instead of saying for the convenience of putting out like a better game. Don't give a release date. I understand investors need one. Well, that's internal. Don't put an external release date on things and then expect people to not get mad when the game they've been waiting on for 8 years gets pushed back 2 years. I mean, you keep using Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk's a perfect example. I mean, 10 years in development, and then you release what releases. What were you doing during development then? Because the game that came out was not the game that was promised. I mean, if you delay a game multiple times and then you release that game and it's still not up to par with what you promised, I don't understand why the gaming industry gets mad at gamers for being upset about it. I mean,
and I'm going to ask a very difficult question, and there's probably not an answer to that, but there might be. But who's at fault for that? Is that the game? So is that the gaming company's fault for having that marketing cycle just be not what it needs to be, or how does that?
It's everyone's fault. It's gamers' fault. It's the industry's fault. I mean, we have such high expectations for what we're getting that we're not satisfied unless something's perfect on release. But
you have to also, sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead, Unsealy. I apologize.
No, you're fine. You have to also remember, up until COVID, 9 times out of 10, a franchise was releasing a new game every year.
Yeah.
The 4 years of COVID stopped that. And it actually, the one good thing, probably the one good thing that actually came out of that time period was game companies, or not even companies, but game producers and dev teams were able to look and go, a 1 year time frame is it's unreasonable. And now we're seeing games that are coming out, we'll get a game announced this year, but it's not going to be coming out until 2028.
Yeah. And we started Elder Scrolls 6 earlier too. That's a perfect example. They announced that 6 years ago. The Elder Scrolls 6 announcement is as old as Skyrim was at the time of the announcement. Actually older now.
That hurts my heart.
It's a crazy way to put it, but I mean, the problem with Elder Scrolls 6 releasing is expectation. It's not going to meet our expectations.
And you can't
Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, like you were gonna say, Grand Theft Auto 6, I don't think is the hype that everybody has for it is some, but it's not going to be the game that I think everybody thinks it's going to be. It's going to be an amazing game, but it's going to be an amazing game based on its merits, not what everybody thinks it's going to be.
And we live in a time where Grand Theft Auto's genre or whatever, that style of game isn't as popular as it was when Grand Theft Auto 5 came out either. But, GTA 6 is going to be a great game. It's going to revolutionize the gaming industry 100%. I mean, hands down. They're already talking about that game being $100 on launch. So, I mean, because we had that push from, games used to be $59.99 on release. Well, to recoup those development costs, they pushed us up to $69.99 for new games. So
now they're what, like $80? I think
that's still $70 for a base game, which is okay. Which to me is still a little high, but it is what it is. But we'll take one of the games that was in our list to talk to, and I've been playing it recently, is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. We had development in 2019, released February 4th of this year. In one day, they recouped the development, shipping, and printing costs in 1 day of orders. They've already made money off the game.
Yeah, that's pretty substantial. So now everything that's being sold outside of the release date basically is just making their money.
The number 2 game on Steam.
Another perfect example of that, the Knights of the Old Republic remake. It was announced. The only thing they stated was, it'll be here 2025. This is a completely reworked, from graphics, all of it, Knights of the Old Republic. People are going to go insane. If they look at people and go, $100 for this game, you bet your ass every Star Wars fan, hell, 90% of gamers are going to go, okay.
There's certain studios and certain developers that can get away with things. I keep saying Elder Scrolls 6. It's the one game that I've been waiting for however long now. Since I beat Skyrim the first time, and I have something along the lines of 7,000 something hours in Skyrim. But we didn't want Starfield. I hate to say it. I mean, nobody wanted Starfield. Nobody asked for that. We had No Man's Sky. We didn't need Starfield. We didn't want Fallout 76 when it came out. Fallout 76, where it is now, is okay.
I mean, it's not
Fallout. It is, but it's not.
So the problem with Fallout 76 is they tried to capitalize on the success of Elder Scrolls Online.
Yep.
But they didn't put in the quality of life stuff
that you need to make the longevity work.
Because ESO is still going, still getting expansions, still has a ton of concurrent
players. 10 million players on ESO. I'm one of those. I play ESO.
I love ESO.
I'm the same. One of my hands down favorite MMOs.
And the thing is you can play it completely free.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm going to say this outright. Does the subscription help you a lot?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
that bag separation is huge.
Yeah, the supplies bag, materials bag's huge. But I will say, when it first came out, it wasn't. When they did the Tamriel Together update,
Yeah.
that changed the whole game. That's what made the game what it is now. Like, that's why you have such a player
And-
base. And I might be wrong, actually. I think it's 100 million players.
Oh yeah, no, it's wild.
Yeah,
Like-
it's not. And then Fallout 76 fell off after 3 months. Like, it's never regained its
mean-
player base.
Look at Final Fantasy 14. That is a revived dead game.
Yeah.
That they redid, repackaged, and has a huge concurrent player base.
Well, and let me ask you, and this is a great segue to what we're going to be, going over in our list of games coming out this year. But based on what y'all are saying, is that these games that are coming out and the tail end of even during the COVID years, the tail end of them, they just, for whatever reason, it sounds like they were just trying to get these games out to be capitalized on what the hot topic, what the people were trying to buy at the time. They just pushed them out to grab what they could. But really, those games needed a lot more time in the oven to be to what we consider a good game, right? Because they weren't. And so I want to segue this now into the games that are coming out this year in 2025 and maybe in the beginning of 2026. I'll start with you, Ash. I want to know, now that we're maybe in a time period where we've learned our lessons, these games that were half-baked when they came out, they just didn't capitalize. They probably didn't make their money back until way later on down into the release cycles. I think now we finally may have some good polished games coming out. Ash, what's some of the games you're looking forward to coming out this year and possibly in 2026?
Like I said, the huge one, Light No Fire. Another one's Crimson Desert. I talked about it with Unseelie and Make for a little bit today. So it's going to be an open world action adventure that I remember it getting announced like a few years ago. I couldn't tell you the exact developmental cycle for Crimson Desert. It would have to be something I'd look up. But it's going to be an open world fantasy game. I know it's going to have multiplayer. You're going to have not dragons, but you'll have wyverns. Something that's fun to play. And I think that, really big right now, a lot of companies have switched off single player games. And, we've all moved to multiplayer games. Everything's multiplayer now. But I'll probably play this game single player for a little bit. And then if other people get it, we'll play together. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, that was huge for me because I played one when it was first released. I can see where it came and where it is. One of the top selling games already, I think, in the last year. I think they've already sold 2 million units within the week. Within 3 days, including pre-orders.
That was a huge pop-up. I didn't realize it actually was released until I went on YouTube, and all of a sudden I see like 4 or 5 suggested Kingdom Deliverance videos. I'm like, well, I should probably check it out.
One that I'm a little worried about is Avowed.
I am actually very excited for Avowed.
I'm excited for it. I'm just worried about the expectation.
Is it free to play?
Yeah, well, that's Game Pass.
Yeah,
free. It's $90, I think, for the premium, or $70 for the standard. But like I said, it's included with Game Pass. I'm gonna get it on my PC. I'm a little worried about it, mainly just because of the Game Pass aspect. Sea of Thieves was smart. Will this be a game that they bring to PlayStation? I'm sure that it'll be somewhere down the line after a little bit.
But give it a few months. It'll come in. Don't worry.
It's Obsidian. I don't know if you guys know this, but Obsidian made Fallout New Vegas. Which is like one of their best. That's the best Fallout. One of the best. It is the best Fallout game.
Say New Vegas is one of my top 5 favorite games I've ever played.
Yeah, New Vegas was just a fantastic game. So it's made by Obsidian.
Yep.
You have the issues of some of the dev stuff behind the wall. We won't go into that situation, but like you said, COVID's a massive detriment to the gaming industry. Everyone had to work separately. You didn't have the environment of being able to like have the idea. These big companies, they still use idea boards. In the office, like they've got these big glass panes that they run ideas off of each other with, and you didn't have that necessarily like you would in an in-person, environment. So even for me, I worked on 2 games during COVID, and one of them's already shut down. The other one, the coding was just shoddy, and like, I know that makes me sound bad. I did some of the coding on it, but they've released the game. It's not really that popular, but it was because everyone had to work from a home desktop, and we had to all do all of our work through Microsoft Teams. Like, we were literally sending code lines through Microsoft Teams, having the guy copy and paste all this into the source code and everything else. And it's kind of like, what code's going where? We're not getting to see that, whereas like in a studio you would likely get to see that. We've got Death Stranding 2. I don't think that Death Stranding needed a sequel, but it's Hideo Kojima and he doesn't miss. So.
No, I'm really curious to see how that game comes out. So what do you have so far? You have Kingdom Come Deliverance, which I believe just came out. We have
released February 4th. I highly suggest anyone, you don't have to play the first one to play the second.
Okay. That's good to know. So it's completely separate from the.
It's the same thing, but you do not need the first game to understand what's going on. It goes into it while you play.
Okay, cool. Well, give me one more game that you haven't mentioned that we should pick up in the next year or so.
There's so many games coming out that it's really hard to choose a specific one, I guess. Because I'm not a Monster Hunter guy, which I'll be burned at the stake for saying.
No, it's okay. I don't play it, and I know I put you on the spot, but I just want to know if you had like a really good game. You said,
like I said, man, for me right now, it's probably Crimson Desert. Like, that's a game I'm entirely looking forward to playing. Like, sitting down, taking time off and playing.
I'll pick it up. I've never heard of it actually until you were talking about it with me and Unseelie prior to recording. So I'll definitely check that out.
I highly suggest it. But I'm gonna stop my babbling now. Unseelie, you're on the spot.
Yeah, Unseelie, give me about 3 to 4 games that you're looking forward to, and explain to me like why you're looking forward to these games being released, coming up this year that we should pick up and play. And why is it a game we should check out?
So for me, at the very least, I mean, Monster Hunter Wilds comes out the end of this year, about 20 days, or the end of this month in 20 days. It is the spiritual sequel, I guess, to Monster Hunter Worlds. So that'll be pretty good. I mean, besides that, the only one I really am looking forward to is Fable, and that purely comes from nostalgia.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that. I was like, if we don't mention Fable, because I literally thought of it when I muted it, and I was like, if we don't mention Fable, these people are just going to block us on YouTube.
But
I'm glad Unseelie mentioned it.
Oh yeah, no, it's going to be an amazing game. I mean, I'm a little interested to see what happens with Arc 2. That's going to be hit or miss, realistically.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I would still say check it out.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, give it a chance at least.
And actually, I probably would too. I like Dark alright, so I'm looking forward to the second one just to check it out. Let's see.
The big thing for the second one is it's going to actually have an actual story, so that's
cool.
Supposed to be a big selling point.
Nice. Okay. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, Unseelie, give me, if you had to pick one game coming up this year, and you may have already said it, but give me one game that you would recommend somebody watching right now or listening to pick up and to play it. What game would that be coming out either this year in 2025 or coming up in 2026?
Fable.
Okay.
Without a doubt, Fable.
I mean, I can't even argue with that. That's
It's
probably
just-
a good shout out.
Fable revolutionized the whole aspect of your choices matter in a video game. And I just want to see what they're going to do with this brand new, I guess, leading off point with the series.
Maybe a brand new innovation, right, for the series and maybe gaming a little bit, because they did. You're right, they did kind of have that choice aspect. One of the first ones to do it, and then it became super popular in any game. In fact, if you had a game to come out that didn't have that aspect, you probably, which I'm not gonna lie, it depends on the game for me. If like, say for example, like when Assassin's Creed, and I know I'm getting off topic, but if Assassin's Creed obviously has those choices aspects to it now, I don't really care for it all that much, to be honest. Sometimes I just prefer a storyline. Say, for example, Uncharted is a good example. I love that type of game where at the storyline, I don't have to make decisions via dialogue to consider outcomes. Sometimes I don't like that. Okay, but Fable for you, Crimson Desert for Ash, and for me personally, I think for me, yeah, Fable's definitely high on the list. You both know this, but I am a huge Civilization 5 player. I did not like Civ 6. Did not play it. So I have high hopes for Civ 7. As we are recording this, I believe it is released. But I don't know. I don't think the reviews are great. I have to check it out, so I'm not going to recommend it to y'all in case it is just like at the bottom of a Rotten Tomato, tier list somewhere. So, but I am looking forward to Civ 7. I do want to check it out. Obviously, I want to check out. I'm a big Assassin's Creed fan. Shadows is supposed to be like a very, very polished Assassin's Creed game of a giant open world aspect with seasons that we haven't had before. I'm not crazy about the whole RPG elements they included in Assassin's Creed back when they introduced Origins, which is counterintuitive because Origins is one of my favorite games, but I did not like how the franchise went after Origins. But I think this could be a good game to look into, especially with it being in the oven for so long. I mean, you both said it right. A studio or a gaming company should not, market a game's release if they feel like there's a lot more that needs to be done to the game to make it better. On the side note with Assassin's Creed, in 2026, I believe is the release date of Ghost. Ash, I'm gonna need your help on this one. What's the new Ghost of game coming out? The new Ghost game,
Yote or something like that. I think initial release date is this year, but it doesn't have like an actual date. But I do remember it being 2025.
Yeah. Okay. I think I saw it in the recent game. Forget which presentation. It may have been the Sony one, obviously. But yeah, guys, I highly recommend.
It was at the end of the last PlayStation State of Play, I think.
Yeah, it's coming out 2025.
Okay, perfect. This is perfect. Yeah, please go check out the Ghost of Yote, I believe. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but that's going to be a very solid game in 2025. And for all you sports fans out there, and no, I'm not talking about the yearly releases of NBA. Be on the lookout. PGA 2K25. It's been in the oven for quite a while. They actually have a demo out now. If you're into, maybe you're into golf, maybe you're not. It's still a very fun game to pick up, play. Check it out. It's coming out soon at the end of February. And yeah, I know there's a lot of other games coming out we haven't touched on. Borderlands 4. We mentioned Death Stranding 2. Those are games that are going to be highly, highly looked upon as big sellers and big games for good reason. They have a really large fan base around them, and I hope they do well. And honestly, I just really hope, in conclusion, that we are finally entering the light end of gaming industry where we actually have polished beautiful and fantastic games to play. I hope we never have to see, and I know it's going to happen, we're going to get delays more than likely, but I hope we never have to see previous years of gaming ever again, because it was not fun for anybody in the industry. It became very toxic. In fact, we actually had a video me and Celie did about, is social media bad or good for the gaming industry? We talked about that, and that was a big part of it. So, I think we're getting there. I think this is the time to become a gamer again. Even if you're a little bit older, maybe you have a family, it is tough to balance that work life, obviously, but I think we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. You two have anything else before we hit our last commercial break? And then we're going to dive into new Contramerc City news just for y'all Ghouligans. Thank y'all for sticking around for us.
Welcome to new Contramerc City, where the neon glows and the world stands still. We are your hub for everything gaming. There is a place for all the games you play and the ones you have yet to discover. Make sure to visit Pokémon Professor Grave and you'll start your Pokémon journey. Sailing the high seas north or speed. Join Captain Suba's crew to raid village and hunt for treasure. Maybe a relaxing game of golf is what you're looking for. Well, coming in the end of the night, the NCC golf course will be calling your name. Now that the pandering is done, do you hear it? Murmurs on the wind. The city speaks. Soon, it's coming. When the triumvirate calls, many will answer. Look to the neon horizon. Stay safe, Ghoul Eugens, if you're still going by the name.
Welcome back, Ghouligans, to 99.9 Gimmighoul Radio, the hottest radio in New Contramerc City and Tavoria. Listen, we are at the end of our radio show tonight. Again, I just want to thank you. I just want to thank Turn to Ash for being here with me and Unseelie tonight. And thank you for all your insight and gaming knowledge. And what we're going to go ahead and do now for our radio show is we like to wrap up with just explaining what's going on in the city, our Discord server, and what kind of activities we have going on that everybody can be excited for. And then we got to get out of here before Dan runs us off again. So yeah, thanks again for being here. Unseelie, if you don't mind, just go ahead and rattle some cool stuff that's going on right now in New Contramerc City. Hit me and go.
So we've been doing the Thursday Throwdown fighting games every Thursday night. They take place usually between 7 and 8 p.m. Eastern time. Those have been going really well. So far, we've done Super Smash Brothers and we've done Pokemon Close Combat. And then we have set sales Saturdays on obviously Saturday nights. That's been starting around 2 p.m. Eastern, and then other people will start joining throughout the night. And then we have a couple different contests and other things going on for art and pictures and everything else.
Awesome. That is, yeah, so that's good to hear. Ash, you're always lively in the city. I see you running around half the time when I'm out getting my morning coffee. What can you tell Ghouligans and everybody listening to the radio waves tonight about New Contramerc City, and what else do we have going on that you can tell our great audience?
Listen, guys, if you guys want to join a great community where everybody's included and, we cater to every demographic of gamer, we have games for everybody. We have communities for everybody. Anything that you're interested in joining in, we're the place to be. We've got music. We've got great mods, and coming soon I think we're gonna start doing I think me and Grim talked about it a little bit. We're gonna call it Shooter Saturdays, where we're gonna play some Call of Duty, maybe some Marvel Rivals. We'll try to get some people together. We'll have these teams, we're gonna have competitions, giveaways, some tournaments. But I appreciate you guys coming in, joining us tonight in Gimmighoul Radio. We hope you enjoyed the mix of Pokemon gaming insights and the musical beats. So let's keep the energy going and stay tuned for more epic content.
Awesome stuff, Ash, and we appreciate you. Again, guys, listen, if you don't know, every single soundtrack, every single music sound bit you hear tonight in our show and every show we create, it is because of this guy right here. So we do appreciate Ash for all the hard work he does. And, you know, you guys come on over. He gives out free sound bits every... What's the schedule on that, by the way?
Yeah, so I try to do that every Friday around 8 o'clock. Like I said, this week I was lacking a little bit, so I released 3 new ones. Nobody's going to have these. You guys are welcome to use them on your streams, podcasts, whatever you guys want to use them for. Shout out to these guys for giving me a platform to share that with you. And
absolutely,
like I said, come be a part of us. Subscribe, share, leave us a review on your favorite platform. And until next time, keep your game strong and your music loud.
Awesome, and we appreciate you.
See you later, guys.
Thank y'all, Gooligan. We out. Studio shutting down. Till next week, y'all have a good night. Peace out. See y'all.